Institute of Social Studies in The Hague, and it is a school of critical thinking and development studies. And a large part of the students are mid-career professionals like me and on an academic holiday. I'm also part of the Frugal Innovation Center in Africa, and this is an initiative of 3 Dutch universities, Leiden, Delft, and Erasmus. And I'm going to share insights about my field research in South Africa, where I'm looking at medical devices firms and how they design and deliver medical devices and contribute to inclusive healthcare in the domestic. Okay, since I'm at a business school, are you familiar with the word jugaad, or are you familiar with the work of C.K. Prahalad? How many of you have, yeah? Okay, so basically the interest in frugal innovation has initially been spurred in the business management literature. And the late C.K. Prahalad, in his book, The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, he advocated a win-win situation, that it is possible that multinational corporations can eradicate poverty by making, by maximizing profit, by unleashing the latent purchasing power of the very poor customers in developing countries. The Economist in 2009, they published the article. They focused on the Indian healthcare system and suggesting that the world can really learn from the frugal approaches in India. The concept of jugaad or frugal innovation has also been popularized by Rajto. I think a lot of people are familiar with Rajto and Prabhu. Okay, he is from Paris. So by Rajto and Prabhu. And the concept is basically that you can do better or more with less. And over the last 15 years, multinational corporations have rushed to developing countries to offer stripped-down versions of their core products. But frugal innovation is not an entirely new phenomenon. Frugality has always existed, and its expressions can be found in theology, religion, philosophy, ethics. However, its manifestations, as we see them today, are new, shaped by modern patterns of globalization, rising middle class in developing countries, accelerated technological change, and the 4th industrial revolution. But what really is frugal innovation? It has been variously defined by many scholars, but generally what it is understood as products, solutions, models, or combination of these, suitable for low resource settings and serving unmet needs of low-income consumers in developing countries. But the main caption is it is affordable, it is significantly cheaper than the alternatives. That is, if alternatives are at all available. What is problematic and creates confusion is that there are fuzzy boundaries with other types of bottom-up innovation, like the base of the pyramid, jugaad, below the radar, inclusive, social innovation, or grassroots innovation. And this creates a lot of confusion about what really are we talking about, and the innovation product characteristics and what the actual impact can be. So there is a confusion between what is perceived and what actual benefit can be. One of the reasons why frugal innovation has taken center stage in policy dialogue is due to the increasing innovation divide between the global north and the global south. Countries in the north remain the dominant source of innovation. However, given the wide differences in context, critical challenges, overall development needs, products which are developed in high-income countries are not suitable to be used in the global south, and they may altogether be absent. One of the areas of innovation mismatch where the importance of frugal innovation is increasingly being recognized is in medical devices. Medical devices are mainly, again, designed and produced in high-income countries. 95% of all medical devices in the developing world is imported. 70% of these equipment in sub-Saharan Africa is donated by international governments, foreign international donors, of which only 10 to 30% become operational. This is a picture, this is a typical picture of African hospitals when what happens is dumping of obsolete equipment by high-income countries with an anything better than nothing attitude has result what is known as, what you see here, the medical equipment graveyard. To understand in what ways frugal innovation is enabling inclusive development, South Africa forms a very, very interesting setting to explore. Much of its development challenges is linked to the entrenchment of poverty and diseases, and it is combined with unemployment. There's an unemployment of more than 26%. There are more than 7 million people in South Africa with HIV/AIDS. Two-thirds of the population, of the 55 million population, they live in provinces which are largely rural, away from economic opportunities, away from specialized hospitals and urban facilities. The healthcare expenditure overall is 8.1% of the GDP, which is much more than other developing countries. And the government serves 84% of the population, which basically means that there isn't really a very small fraction of the people have private healthcare insurance. The medical devices industry is small but growing. There are a lot of regulatory barriers, funding gaps, and like I've said, and it's typical of other developing countries, much of the equipment is imported. And also there are no preferential procurement policies for local firms, so they are always competing with cheaper imported products. Within and despite this context, many local firms are developing products which are very specific to local needs. This is an example of the Kudu Wave. It has been developed by a company called Imoyo Technologies. It's a lightweight and portable audiometer, and it replaces the conventional sound booth, which is very expensive. The company was founded by Dr. Dirk Kukemoer, and he's a medical doctor by profession, and he left his day job with a dream of revolutionizing primary delivery of primary health care and through telemedicine. One of the uses of the Kudu Wave has been in the decentralized multi-drug resistant TB management program of the government. So what happens is in this multi-drug resistant TB treatment, it leads to ototoxicity. So there is hearing loss, and which happens very quickly over a period of a month. So you need very constant monitoring to see whether this is happening or not. And the traditional way how hearing loss is diagnosed, it's not possible it was not possible to manage that. So the government used it, and in 2015-16, about 5,000 patients were tested, and more than 50% of them, they were shown to be affected by this treatment, and the medication was changed or stopped. My next example is, I think I can relate to the previous presentation here. It's of the uterine balloon tamponade. So this is actually a device which stops the flow of loss of blood after delivery, so like postpartum hemorrhage. And postpartum hemorrhage is the second most cause of maternal death in South Africa. More than 600 lives were lost in 2014-15, and it is very easily preventable using the uterine balloon tamponade. But what happens is the alternatives which were available were costly. You see it's more than 300 euros. It's limited availability. So this company, Sanape Biomedical, it developed a product which is high quality, but at a cost of between 10 to 28 euros. Actually, the 10 euro is a price they will sell it to the local government, and 28 for the private healthcare. And this was developed in consultation with doctors who were, very, very much embedded in the local community healthcare system, and they understood what the problem was. My last example is of Shona Quip. So this is a social enterprise, and they manufacture customized wheelchair for children. It started in the proverbial garage in 1992 by Shona McDonald, who basically had, wanted to cater to her daughter who was born with a disability, and she could not find a suitable wheelchair for her. So, and it was very difficult to find, wheelchair which was specifically for children. And what happens is when you use adult wheelchair for children, it can lead to, or it's most likely to lead to deformities which are not related to the primary disability. And Shona Quip, they work with other arms, like there is a foundation, a charity, which is the Humbo Foundation, and they have a TVET college, and they have a change of Champions of Change Trust. And they also walk their talk. So 30% of the people whom they employ in the main social enterprise have some sort of disability. We come back to the kudu wave. It can be used under a tree. That's the best place to use the kudu wave. It is connected virtually to experts who can, quickly say that there is a problem and act instantaneously. Okay, during my process, I interviewed about 15 to 20 firms, apart from other policymakers and local government. And some of my key findings were that the firm orientation, these are all mainstream firms which I have researched. And many of these companies, they're not solely profit-driven. They have some sort of social orientation. So profit maximization is not the only goal. They are working on local problems, which are very, very, they are developing products which are cheaper than the best in what is available. So yeah, and they have very high innovation capability. So we are not talking of, very simple products, or they require high technological capability, and technology forms the core of all these products. And organizational and marketing innovation complemented this. And the last thing is that many firms, they have active and meaningful domestic research collaboration. This always does not take the form of a formal R&D project. And many entrepreneurs, they have continued to kind of collaborate with their universities, with their alma mater, and particularly the relationship went beyond the classroom. And in cases, I've found that doctors have worked even without any remuneration, which is quite, I think, unthinkable in certain contexts. So I want to round up by saying, what happens is in developing countries, the government there is a lot of tension in trying to meet primary, requirements of healthcare and other things. And there are long-term goals of developing technological capability, innovation capability, economic growth. So what these companies show that it is possible to converge technological, economic, and social dimensions. And they are doing it despite having a very, very different setting. But then policy is paramount to kind of enabling them to the next step. So I would like to conclude with that. Thank you so much.